Hey, it's Oshi at the Guestlist Network, and it is an honor to be here sitting with a man whose music is legendary for the few people around here that are my age. Paul, how you doing? Oh, it's nice to meet you, man. Yeah, I'm wicked. It's a pleasure to see you today.
No, pleasure to see you as well.
It's funny how things happen, you know. I was actually listening to the song a few months ago before I ever thought I'd be interviewing you, and I thought, wow, this is a blast from the past.
Which track?
Well, the original 19.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That being, you know, I was I'm not gonna say when I was born, but like that tune was no, quite. It was a seminal moment for me growing up. Like, you know, I got vivid memories of me at school, like dancing around to that tune. Now, tell me, like, what was just so you know, for people that are going out to check it right now, what was the original? How did that come around? What was the sentiment behind that?
Basically, I was watching the TV and I saw this program. It's called Vietnam Requiem, and it was all about the kids that were 19 in the Vietnam War. And I just thought, wow, you know, 19, what was I doing at 19? I was out clubbing and all the things that you would sort of do when you're a young kid. And I just thought, what would you be sort of doing when you're actually, you know, in that sort of potential sort of to be killed, really. So I just thought I'd try and make a track about it. I took it into Guestlist Records, and they sort of looked at me as if I was crazy. And I just said, well, look, if you don't want to put it out, I'll leave this label and I'll go somewhere else. When I'll give it a go or whatever. Yeah. And there was one guy there called Simon Fuller, who became my manager, and he said, why don't I leave Guestlist, basically become your manager, and we'll see how we go. And 3 weeks later, we was #1 in 13 different countries, so it was that quick.
In Vietnam, he was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19. 19. The heaviest fighting of the past 2 weeks continued today, 25 miles northwest of Saigon. I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Wow. How much of that do you put down to him being your manager at the time?
Well, quite a lot, because he was a young guy as well. I mean, I didn't even know what a manager did. It was my first really big hit. And I just said, yeah, let's try it. I mean, he was a young guy as well, and he just said, I'll do my best. And yeah, it just we was lucky, because the week that we put it out, it was the 10th anniversary of the end of the War of 19, and so on News at 10 that week, they basically put me on News at 10 as a way of releasing a record, and that was pretty heavy sort of promotion.
Yeah, so before 19, you'd also done some music. Tell me about that.
There was a track called Rainforest, which I did, which was taken from a body popping video that I did. They said to me, could you write 4-6 tracks for this film? So I did, and as I say, Rainforest was the one that they all chose, and they said, we'd like to put this out as a single, what do you think? So I'm always willing to just try things, and I didn't really understand if it was a great thing or not, but everyone seemed to be saying, oh, we really like this. So we put it out in America, and it went to #1 on the R&B chart in America. And the first I knew that it was going to be good, because it knocked Madonna from the sales chart in New York. That was, I think it was like a Virgin she had out, and yeah, it just took off, and I started getting all these letters from the B-boys saying, yeah, we get you, which was good.
It's like your first track knocks Madonna off the charts, right?
Totally, yeah. It's very, very well. It was lucky or whatever, I don't know, but they seemed to like it. So yeah, it was a good time for me then.
Okay, and then after the success of that, what were the next kind of big musical projects that you embarked on?
Well, I had a track out after that called Don't Waste My Time, which went to #7 here in the national chart. And while I was doing Top of the Pops for that, the producer of Top of the Pops, Michael Hurl, he said, would you be interested in doing the new theme tune for Top of the Pops? And I thought, wow, that's an honour. There's only been about 5 or 6 in the whole time of the history of it. So I said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I did a track called The Wizard. And yeah, that stayed on, I think it was for nearly 8.5 years. And it was a top 10 record there as well.
So at that point, at some point you went off to America, is that right?
Yeah, I'd had enough really of the pop side of things, and I'd always been into sort of like funk and jazz and all that stuff, and I changed totally. I went into this thing called NAC, which is New Adult Contemporary, and I started releasing albums in America, and they became even more successful album-wise than what I was doing when 19 was out. You know, I had a real good time with that. We released 10 albums, 5 of Hardcastle, 5 of we called it the Jazz Masters, and they all sort of spawned #1 records on that chart and sold in excess of like 4 million albums, which was a lot in them times. You can't sell that much now because everyone just nicks it. I actually still hold the longest #1 in their chart ever for an artist of 16 and a half weeks.
Wow, nice.
Thanks, cheers.
So you got a new project, and this is coming out in October, right?
October the 14th, I'm not going to change the date. Yeah, it's called 19 Below Zero. And it's, I'm not going to try and describe what it's called. It's a kaleidoscope of chilled beats, and I forget the rest, but I'm not one to sort of have an album, it has to be exactly the same as every other track, because I find that boring. And, you know, like you were saying, it seems like it's changing now with kids not putting names to stuff, but just like enjoying the music for what it is. And I think that's a really good thing for music, because I think separating it so much, all you're doing is basically, watering down dance music. Dance music really should be something you can dance to, not like, Christ, it's, 1 BPM too little or too much, or, and all these names for it. Just if it's a good dance record, then play it.
And you're doing a radio show at the moment, is that right?
I am, yes. I'm on Sundays on a station called Time FM, which goes out over Essex and stuff like that, and I'm enjoying that, yeah, because I can play whatever I want, so it's quite nice.
Okay, so I'm sure you've been a big influence to a lot of people making music since you've had a success, and who influences you?
Wow. Well, I suppose I'm quite varied, but I would go back from people like Barry White to the Isley Brothers, to Pink Floyd, to Led Zeppelin, to Africa Bambaataa. I've got a huge range. I'm not sort of stuck in one pile. I could never be like that.
Oh, and would we hear all of the above there on one of your radio shows?
Oh yeah, totally. And that's the great thing. I can play anything, and I've done it. 1 minute I'm playing Barry White, then I've played the Soul Sonic Force, then I've played Money by Pink Floyd. I think if it's good and people appreciate it, even though it might not be in your category. I don't really like classical, but I would still sort of say, well, there must be something good about it. I wouldn't just go, oh, it's crap because I don't like it. I've never been like that, so.
Okay. And going back to your new project coming out in October, what is the reference to 19, the 19 Below Zero?
Well, it's quite funny because I found a few tapes that I hadn't found for 20 years. I was just looking through some old stuff, and I found 2 mixes that I'd never released at the time, and I thought, wow, hang on a minute, I could put them on as bonus tracks. Nice. And so what I did, I took them, kept them quite like they were, but I've added a bit more newer sort of sounds in there as well, just to bring it up a bit up to date. So that was a great thing to find some stuff on there that I've never released before.
Nice, so we've got some hot new remixes of 19.
Yeah, there's some other versions of Rainforest and a track called King Tut, which was a massive hit for me in America. You'll know them when you hear them.
Yeah. have to go and dig them out. So I guess you're one of those guys you just like to go against the grain, right?
Yeah, I always have been. Yeah. I mean, with the 19 thing, they said to me, you're wasting your time putting this out. And I think that's why I'm so proud of it, because I did stick up for myself. They all said, you'll never get it played on radio. First week on the radio, it was the biggest record on Radio 1.
Nice, so sometimes you just get through the smoke.
Yeah, I think if you do things against the odds, I think it feels great when you sort of come out of it, especially if you win. I'm not saying you always win going against the grain, but if you do, it's a nice feeling to be able to say, yeah, right.
So if you could change any law that was around today, what law would you change?
Blimey, anything at all? I'll tell you what I think. I mean, it goes into maybe America as well, but you can't actually go and have a drink until you're 21, yet you can be sent into a war zone at 18 or 19.
So killed and you can
totally,
carry a gun.
But you can't have a lager, mate. Don't. So I think that to me is something that's ridiculous. I'll change that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you bring the age of drinking for Americans down, or bring the rest of the stuff up?
I think I would bring the age of the Americans to let them have a drink at 18 and maybe make it 21 before you send some. Because I think there's a big difference between being 18 and 21. Your brain is so much, a lot more, and some of these kids don't know what they're doing, and it's just a shame when you see families destroyed, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you were invisible for a day, what would you do?
What would I do if I was invisible for a day? Now that's a strange question. I think I'd go to Chelsea, and if the opposition team tried to score, I'd save it. I'd save it because I'm a big Chelsea fan.
Okay, so you go and help your team.
Yeah, I do get very emotional about that. I'm not very good. I'm very nervous, and I mean that last thing, when we was playing for the Champions League, I walked out when they had the final after the penalty shootout. Couldn't watch it.
Okay.
Could not watch it.
I see you take your football mega seriously. Then.
Yeah, I do, because where I live, everyone supports Tottenham or Arsenal or something, and so I'm the only sort of Chelsea player, and they like to bring me down if possible. When we lost to Man United the last time, they was like, yeah. Well, this time I was just like, I didn't say anything to anyone. I just walked around, just going, "How you doing? All right?"
All right, Paul. It's been a pleasure.